What's up, gamers? I'm your host, Cobra, and this is Freeroll Friday. This week, after our market update, we are taking a look at the project Heroes of Mavia for a big Q3 update from them, and then our trading tip is going to be focused around how to handle rare NFTs in Web3 gaming. Now, before we jump into the market update, you're going to notice I am outdoors enjoying the beautiful July afternoon and wanted to switch things up. As you know, I am on the road this summer, and next week we are going to be moving into our Airbnb, so a slightly more permanent rental for the remainder of the summer while we wait for keys to our new place and our new Freeroll studio. That said, let's jump right into the market updates. And as always, we start out with Otherdeeds. This week saw very little change from last week. The overall floor is down 1% to 2.83. The biogenetic swamp floor is up 10%. There was just one listing that was quite low last week, and that one has sold. And the Coda floor has not moved really at all, still sitting at effectively 19 Ethereum. No surprise, however, this weekend is the actual first Otherside playtest demo, and I expect that we are going to learn a little bit more about the project from participating in that demo. We will certainly be getting some footage and sharing those results with viewers here on the Freeroll as well, so we may see some movement leading up to this weekend and next week. Illuvium has remained relatively flat. The Tier 1 land is effectively unchanged at 0.43, or 0.47 rather. Tier 2 is up about 12% to 1.44, which is a nice increase, and Tier 3 is up just 2% at 4.78. Guild of Guardians surprised everybody with the playtest demo earlier this week, which naturally has created some excitement. That announcement was priced into the floor last week, however, and this week we see relatively little change. The rare floor is still right next to free at 0.006. That's down about 10%. Everything else is relatively unchanged, with epics at 0.023. The Genesis legendaries at 0.156, and the legendary pets at just over 0.7. Our Polygon project, Riot Racers, continues to be a relatively slow period for that project. There's not a whole lot of change to the floor prices here from last week, other than everything is down slightly. Until we get that next big update from the Riot Racers team, safe to expect that that's what you're going to see every week, is down slightly until there's some excitement to inject back into the project. Frontier is down pretty much across the board. They just wrapped up their Watch ID mint and reveal. We had a lot of fun with that here on the Freeroll, but when a sale is closed, for gaming at least, what we typically see is that the prices start to slide. So today you can see that the Stellar Key is down about 5% at 5.6. The Data Key is at a painfully low 0.39. Might have to consider grabbing a couple extras of those because that price is so low. The Zero is down to 0.069. That's exactly as we predicted, and I expect over the next couple weeks or two we'll see that get down to about 0.05, maybe even 0.04. And the Lucky Watcher remains unchanged at a floor of 1. Finally, we round things out with Parallel, and Parallel had some excitement this week as their Echelon finally was launched. That means that if you own a Prime Key or any of the other asset NFTs, you can finally stake them. You can also take a look at how much Prime you have earned via the snapshots year to date. If you're holding any Parallel cards or NFTs at all, you likely have something in there. It's not very much, and it has no value today because we're not going to be able to trade Prime until January. But that said, it's nice to be able to see what we have earned, and depending on what you have, what you are continuing to earn. So the overall floor is up a whopping 17%, but because that is such a small number to begin with, it is still a small number at 0.0042. The SE floor remains unchanged at 0.01, and prime key is down to 15 from 16 last week. It has been floating right between 15 and 16. This week's project update is a beefy one, and it comes from a game called Heroes of Mavia. If you're not familiar, Heroes of Mavia is essentially Web3's version of Clash of Clans. And unless you've been living under a rock for the last decade, you know that Clash of Clans is one of the most popular mobile games out there, and one that players spend a lot of money on. That is exactly the reason why we are excited. I have never been a big fan of playing that game myself, but it is one that I think is going to fit into the early Web3 gaming meta very nicely if they can deliver the same quality of experience that we're used to from a game like Clash of Clans, but build on top of it with Web3 components like NFTs and the ability to potentially earn some value ourselves. The update is coming from a huge blog post that they are calling their Q3 update. There is a whole lot of information in there that I encourage you to check out directly. I have linked the update below so that you can read through it at your leisure and make sure that you don't miss any of the details. But we are going to cover a bunch of the highlights here today. So we start out the same way that most projects like to address any updates these days, and that is commenting on the bear market and their ability to withstand a crypto winter, if you will. Now, I've yet to see a project come out and say that they don't have enough money and that they're worried about being able to last. If they bring up this topic, it generally means that they have some confidence. The good news is that they are a well-funded studio that approached this in a smart fashion and are continuing to hire, which is a very good sign. If you are running out of money, you typically do not look to bring on additional talent and increase your cost. The big bad news from the update is that the roadmap has essentially been pushed out a full quarter. Now, completely par for the course if you've been following the free roll. I tell you, every single one of these projects is going to experience delays. It's a matter of how bad are the delays and how well can they deal with them. But the community does not like delays, and likely you're going to expect to see some upset holders for Heroes of Mavia. But this was easily predictable, and if you watched any of our previous coverage on Heroes of Mavia, I told you it would happen. The current schedule, as of the update, says that the beta version is going to launch in Q4 now instead of Q3, and the Mavia token is going to launch in Q4 or Q1 of 2023. Anytime they give an or, that means the latter, so Q1 is when we can expect to see the token launch. We will also see the full NFT version of the game launched in Q1 of 2023, and we can expect to see the global free-to-play launch in Q2 of 2023. The free-to-play launch is a huge update for the game, and really making it to that stage is going to be key for the long-term health and survival of this project. You might not realize it, but free-to-play players are absolutely essential for this type of game to succeed. From a technical perspective, they called out that their infrastructure has been updated and upgraded so that the game and the blockchain are going to be synchronous. There's a whole bunch of details in there if you want to read more about it, but the short version and most important thing about the synchronicity that they have added is that it is going to make it very, very difficult for exploiters and cheaters to get away with anything within this game, and that's an important feature that Web3 adds. So the biggest surprise from this update by far is the announcement of Soft Staking Season 2. Now, if you've been involved in this project, then you know soft staking has been existing for a while, and it is a reward program for landholders. The current version is that if you have staked your land, then I believe starting in September, you will be able to claim a gold NFT statue. And that's an in-game upgrade item for your land, and it's going to be the only statue available outside of the game pre-launch. So it's a pretty cool reward, and one that will give you some in-game utility or a second NFT to potentially sell off and recoup some of your cost. Either way, there was nothing after that because we were expecting to be jumping into the game at that point, and because the roadmap has been pushed back, that's no longer the case. So instead of having a beta version of the game to play coming up in the next couple of months, we are going to see a Season 2 of soft staking, meaning a second reward. A second reward that was previously unannounced is very cool, right? Well, in this case, sorta. It's a cool reward, but really only for a specific subset of investors. So let's talk about what the reward is first, and then I'll let you know what I like and dislike about it. The reward is a Mavia token match. And basically, you're going to continue to stake your land, and in return, each day and each piece of land that is staked is going to earn Mavia match. Now, it's a match, meaning you're not getting anything for free. You have to purchase that amount of Mavia tokens, or up to that amount of Mavia tokens, and you have to stake them for a minimum of 6 months in order to receive the match of Mavia tokens. So let's walk through a quick example. Let's say that over the next few months, you keep your soft stake land staked and you earn a match of 100 Mavia tokens. That means in order to get that 100 tokens, you have to both purchase 100 Mavia tokens yourself, and you have to stake them for a minimum of 6 months as well. Once you've done that, your purchase of 100 is going to double to 200, and that 200 tokens will earn interest and rewards the entire time, like it all belongs to you. After the 6 months, you can withdraw that and hopefully have some profits, and then your rewards will be vesting over a 12-month schedule. And they didn't include a lot of details on the vesting. I expect we will learn more as we approach the date to purchase and stake Mavia tokens. So, what do I like about it? If you were interested in purchasing some of those tokens, and that is a very common investment strategy for Web3 games today, then this is great. You likely already have some land. It's likely already soft staked. So you're going to earn this match. And if you are already planning to make a purchase, well then, this just gives you some extra incentive and some extra rewards to do so. The part that I don't love is that they are forcing you to stake for 6 months. That is a long time. It's enough time for the game to get moving, which I think is the point. If they can get to a stable economy before people start cashing that out, then the token price should stay much more stable as well. And that's a smart approach, but it's also a much riskier approach for the investor. And the reason is, while all of those tokens are locked up, we're going to see the price artificially rise. However, nobody is really going to be selling into that because they can't. And that means that you just have to watch the token price go up. And then as we approach the 6 months, hope that it stays at a point where you are profitable. You do not get the ability to withdraw early, and you don't get to realize any instant profits. So essentially, what they are offering us as a reward for purchasing and holding an NFT is the ability to spend some more money and maybe earn something off of it, but also to maybe lose something from it. And so that's the thing I don't love about this, is there is no guaranteed win. Yes, you are going to get more tokens for your dollars or Ethereum, but there is no guarantee that your purchase is going to be positive growth after 6 months, and it forces you to participate in the staking for a full 6 months as well. So are we going to do that? Probably do it for a little bit, but it's not something that I'm interested or excited about. And quite frankly, this is the second time that Heroes of Mavia has put out a reward for staking that has been wholly underwhelming. I guess they're setting a bar, and that doesn't do anything to prevent the game from being successful, but bit of a bummer and likely not going to do anything for your land value. That said, it's awfully hard to complain about a reward that we didn't even know was going to come. So consider the Mavia match purely as a potential bonus that may or may not benefit you as a collector and or investor, and that's okay. The final piece of the update is that they have promised to deliver some game documentation, and game documentation can mean all sorts of things, but in this case it's going to include a whole bunch of details about how the game works, the various game modes that are going to be available, the different resource types that you'll be able to farm, as well as some lore and descriptions and statistics for us to analyze as well. This is the sort of content that I really love to break down for you, because most people find it fairly dry, but there's a lot of alpha in that type of document that can help you be prepared for day one of playing the game, and potentially even help you with NFT trading leading up to the game launch. So we will be breaking down any of those documents that they actually deliver in great detail here on the Freeroll. And now we wrap up Freeroll Friday with this week's trading tip. And today we are talking about rare NFT pulls within a Web3 gaming project specifically. Now, if you're into NFTs at all, whether it's games or PFPs or anything in between, you know that the most popular method of distribution for NFTs is that they sell an unrevealed placeholder NFT, where you know that you own one, but you don't necessarily know what you have. And then at a later date, they will update all of those NFTs with their metadata, thereby revealing what type you actually got. And this part is an awful lot of fun. It is very similar to ripping open a pack of Pokemon cards or baseball cards back in the day. That's when you find out if you got something rare and exciting or a more common outcome. And in the NFT world, especially if you're looking to flip and make a profit, that's when you figure out how well you have done. However, in gaming projects, while we still see this method of distribution quite frequently, there's another layer that adds some real complexity to the secondary market, and I often see lots of collectors and investors struggling with how to price those assets. So when we're talking about gaming NFT rarity, there are a couple of factors that you often need to look out for, and we're going to use one of my favorite examples of this, Chicken Derby, as a good example. So this is one of the chickens that I own, and right away you're going to notice a couple of things. It is purple, which is part of the reason why I purchased it, and it has an eye patch, which is very uncommon. In fact, I think only 3% of chickens have an eye patch, and therefore are pirate chickens. That eye patch is very cool. It makes my chicken look very different and unique. It helps it stand out in the crowd, but it does nothing for his ability to win a race. It's purely a cosmetic trait, and it's relatively rare, so it does have some value, but it's not going to help you win any more money or finish better in the races that you are entering. On the flip side, this chicken also has the talent called Fan Group. And Fan Group is a talent where a bunch of your fans come out and they create a crowd on the track that slows down your opponents, allowing you to get a little bit of a boost. It's not the most popular one, and it is not the rarest one, but it is also not a common trait. This has an impact on your racing performance, though, and therefore has a different type of importance to the NFT because it is in-game related, and in the long term, we will likely be able to measure how much more important an uncommon trait is versus a common talent, and additionally, we'll be able to see how much worse it is than a rare or ultra rare talent. Okay, now that we understand the difference between a cosmetic trait and an in-game trait, we need to talk about how to deal with this type of NFT when we pull something that actually is good, or if we are shopping for something that is a bit more rare, then how do we go about doing that? First thing that you need to notice is just like every other NFT project out there, the reveal happens, and then the immediate aftermath is that the secondary market is going to be very excited, and that is when we are going to have by far the most demand for those NFTs, especially if it is a successful project and successful launch. That typically lasts at least a few hours, and if it's a better project, and games tend to be a bit better, that can often last for up to 24, maybe even 48 hours before the volume starts to die off. Now that's because there generally is nothing to do with the NFTs once you have them other than wait. And once you get to the waiting period, that's when people start cutting their prices. But for a couple of days, some trends can develop, and you can start to figure out which traits the market has the most demand for right away, and which traits the market doesn't have a lot of demand for. Oftentimes you're going to find that the cosmetic traits do best early on, because post-reveal, when you're learning about which traits are available and rare, is when people tend to be the most excited about said traits. However, because they have no utility typically, that means that the interest in those traits tends to die off over time. So my rule of thumb is when I have a rare cosmetic trait, like for example a pirate chicken, if it's not something that I want to keep for myself, I look to sell it within that initial flurry, typically within a few hours, if not the first day of trading. Another really important factor that you have to consider is that after 28 to 48 hours, that initial volume and liquidity for your NFTs is going to dry up. It's not going to go to zero, of course, but once people have sold off the stuff that they don't want and purchased the NFTs that they do want, they tend to stop trading quite a bit, and you'll see that the floor is just going to slowly sink until there's some sort of market catalyst, and that's likely updates from the game project itself. So this means a couple of things. Number one, if you are looking to sell, you generally want to get out before that stage hits. If you're looking to purchase, you generally want to wait until that stage hits and really takes hold before you pull the trigger. Following the project will help, because they often will have a schedule, or at least give some sort of hints as to when to expect some updates. So if you can see a window of a month where there's not expected to be anything interesting happening from a project perspective, then you can bet that at the end of that month, floor prices are probably going to be as low as they have been in a while, and that is a great time to go after the rare NFT that you want to purchase. The other thing to remember is once the liquidity dries up, some sellers are going to get desperate. That can mean a couple of things. Number one, they might cut their prices and remove the premium that they had previously assigned to a rare trait. You might be able to find something relatively rare or even very rare right on the floor because they're desperate to get a sell. The other thing is they might leave their NFT priced where they think it is valued, but still not have the patience to wait for a buyer to pay that price. And this is a strategy I use all of the time. Make offers. On gaming NFTs especially, there tends to be not a lot of liquidity outside of different market catalyst periods like a reveal or big news. And when that's the case, especially if you're less picky about what you're purchasing, you can make offers that are well under the asking price for a whole lot of different things out there, and you'll find that people will accept those offers. Now, when you happen to have a rare NFT for a new collection, there's no easy way to determine what the best course of action is. However, what I recommend is that you have a plan for all of them and you stick to it. My plan is almost always I want to flip my rares quickly. I want to participate in the price discovery that goes on early, and I am okay with selling for a little bit too little in return for making sure that I'm able to capture some premium for my premium pull every single time. When you wait for the market to materialize, you may not like the market says about your particular rare trait. And this is a mistake I made a lot early on. I would pull something, see that it had a particular trait that maybe only 50 other NFTs had on it, making it quite rare in a collection of 10,000 or 20,000 NFTs. That doesn't mean anybody wants it though. And if you hold off trying to sell it for, say, 10 times what the floor is going for because of the rarity of that trait, sometimes you're going to find that nobody's willing to pay even double the floor, and you will have missed an opportunity to sell for a premium. When things are early and people are still kind of guessing at what the value for a particular rare NFT might be, that's when you have the opportunity to capture some premium just about every single time, unless the volume is totally dead and nobody cares about these NFTs at all, in which case a rare is not going to be worth a premium, to say the least. But people are purchasing in secondary and you're not sure what the value is, do your best and list it for something that you would still be satisfied with receiving. I'll give you a good example because we recently talked about Frontier's Watch ID. I ended up pulling a holo, and that was a rare trait. I wasn't sure how rare. One of the rarity guides said that it was a top 200 out of about 4,000. It was pretty good. But at the time, nobody had paid more than 0.25 for a holo Watch ID. There was also none left listed anywhere near 0.25. So I set a new floor by pricing it at 0.5, which is double what somebody had previously paid. And somebody bought that relatively quickly. If I had held out, I probably could have gotten a little bit more for that NFT. However, we didn't know which direction it was going to go, and that is my policy, is to sell it right away. Our actual goal with that was to potentially trade up into a more rare version of the Watch ID, and we were not successful in that, at least yet. But the point is, I was willing to help with the price discovery by listing for an amount much lower than everybody else was listing for, to see if somebody would buy, and as a result I was able to capture some premium on reveal day itself, locking in profits. Personally, I feel much worse when I missed an opportunity to sell than when I sold too early. So I like to go that route. However, you need to know yourself as a trader, and if it's going to bother you more to underprice something and sell something for too little when you do have good luck, than it would to hold on to something and see that it has no premium value at all, go ahead and tweak the plan to fit your trading style. And that wraps up this week's outdoor edition of Freeroll Friday. We hope you found this informative and entertaining, and if you did, consider giving us a follow on Twitter. That's where I like to engage with the community and answer all of your questions about play and earn or Web3 gaming. Also, double check for me that you have hit that like and subscribe button below. It really goes a long way towards supporting the channel.